Jeopardy! Please welcome our contestant. Player one. And now, here is the host of Jeopardy, Alex Privet.
Thanks, Johnny. Welcome to Jeopardy, everyone. Good luck to you in the Jeopardy round. For this game, the categories are as follows. That's so cliché. Optical illusions. Missing body parts. British poetry. Sports quotes. And the National Park System. All right, let's get back into this. Player one has control of the board. Need something? Well, just come to the point and stop beating around the this. Okay, player one. Correct. Player one, back to you. The final outrage is the straw that breaks this animal's back. Okay, player one. You got it. Player one, back to you for our next selection. People who meet briefly and then go their separate ways are like these that pass in the night. We're talking about ships. Player one, pick again. You've been in trouble if someone has read you this act. It's player one. Correct. Player one, back to you for our next selection. An indefinitely long time is often referred to as a month of these days. Here's what we were looking for. Sundays. Player one, back to you. Hope you studied this eye part that at its maximum contraction in an adult may be less than 1 millimeter in diameter. Yes, player one?
Yeah!
Yep. Player one, back to you for our next selection. Here's Jimmy with the clue.
To allow your eyes to see clearly at varying distances, fibers called the zonules of Zinn change the shape of this eye part that focuses light onto the retina.
It's player one. Here's the correct response. Lens. Please pick again, player one. Don't detach this, which is next to the choroid and changes light rays into neural signals. Here's the correct response. Retina. You again, player one. Drivers know the point where the optic nerve enters the eye has no rods or cones and goes by this two-word term. It's player one.
Yeah!
You got it. Player one, choose again. The sclera and this consist of tough tissues that make up the outer layer of the eyeball and give it strength. Let's hear it, player one. Good. Select again. This assassin's third, fourth, and fifth vertebrae aren't in a Baltimore cemetery. They're at the National Museum of Health and Medicine. It's player one. Yep. Player one, you pick again, please. An American urologist is said to own a very important part of this French leader who died on May 5th, 1821. It's player one. That's it. You again, player one. This Lord Protector's body was once buried in Westminster Abbey. It's believed his head is buried in Cambridge. The correct response is Oliver Cromwell. Player one. Pick again. General Lee said, "He has lost his left arm, which was buried in Elwood, Virginia, but I have lost my right arm." Yes, player one? Right you are. You get to pick again, player one. P.T. Barnum didn't have this actress's leg to stand on when she refused his $10,000 offer for it. Here's the correct response. Sarah Bernhardt. Player one, you pick again, please. Number one of these by Shakespeare, from fairest creatures we desire increase, urges a handsome man to have kids. Okay, player one. Right you are. Player one, you pick again, please. Lord Byron was a major influence on this later poet lord who wrote 1842's The Lord of Burleigh. We're talking about Alfred Lord Tennyson. Player one, back to you for our next selection. Blake asked, little this, who made thee? Gave thee clothing of delight, softest clothing, woolly, bright. The correct response is Lamb. Player one, back to you. Leaving his girl for his duty, Lovelace wrote, I could not love thee, dear, so much loved I not this more. Here's what we were looking for. Honor. Please pick again, player one. This British poet got romantic about La Belle Dame sans Merci. We're talking about John Keats. Player one, back to you for our next selection. Johnny Logan. We're honoring one of the all-time greats in baseball. Stan the Man Him. He's immoral. Here's the correct response. Stan Musial. Player one, you pick again, please. This Hall of Fame 1970s Reds catcher was thinking about making a comeback until I pulled a muscle vacuuming. Here's the correct response. Johnny Bench. Select again. He made Bartlett's with, if people don't want to come out to the ballpark, nobody's going to stop them. Here's the correct response. Yogi Berra. Player one, pick again. This 1950s Yankee manager said of a pitcher, he don't smoke, he don't drink, he don't chase women, and he don't win. Here's what we wanted. Casey Stengel. You again, player one. At a dinner, Redskins running back John Riggins begged this Supreme Court justice, baby, loosen up. Here's the correct response. Sandra Day O'Connor. Player one, back to you for our next selection. A national memorial in this city commemorates the site of the April 19, 1995 bombing that killed 168. Here's the response we were looking for. Oklahoma City. We return to you, player one. The Philadelphia home where he wrote The Telltale Heart is now a National Historic Site. Yes, player one? Hey, you're right. Player one, back to you. Fort Necessity, the site of the first battle of this war on July 3, 1754, was designated a national battlefield in 1961. Player one? Right you are. Select again. It's the Daily Double. You are in first place. What are you going to wager? And the Daily Double clue. Lying in both Tennessee and North Carolina, it has more annual visitors than any other national park. Yeah, good. Let's have a look at the $1,000 clue. Christiansted National Historic Site on this largest of the U.S. Virgin Islands commemorates its Danish heritage. Here's what we wanted. St. Croix. The Double Jeopardy round will begin right after this. Clues are worth $400 to $2,000 in these categories. Tough tunes. Metals. The 1920s. Somewhere. related words, and bestsellers of the decade. All right, if you're ready, it's double Jeopardy time. The godfather of soul, James Brown, can't dance because of these in his pants. Let's hear it, player one. Right. You get to pick again, player one. Vanessa Williams sang, "Just when I thought our chance had passed, you go and do this." Here's the correct response. Save the best for last. Player one, you pick again, please. In a Michael Martin Murphey song, this title horse busted down its stall. In a blizzard he was lost. Here's what we wanted. Wildfire. Player one, back to you. Answer, the first of the daily doubles. And you're in the lead now. How much are you going to wager, player one? Here is your daily double clue. Neil Diamond sang that a woman from this state shines with her own kind of light. Sorry, that's wrong. Here's what we were looking for. Kentucky. Player one, back to you. In a Led Zeppelin tune, Robert Plant was packing his bags for these title mountains, familiar to Tolkien fans. The correct response is the Misty Mountains. Player one, choose again. Pricier than gold, it's the metal of Jennifer Lopez's albums and of her earrings at the premiere of El Cantante. Here's what we wanted. Platinum. You get to pick again, player one. Here's Sarah.
By studying seismic waves, scientists concluded that the Earth is made up of 4 layers: the crust, mantle, a liquid outer core, and a solid inner core, made mainly of this metal.
It's player one. Yes. Player one, pick again. Antimony gives strength and hardness to this metal, so you don't have those mushy bullets. Okay, player one. Right. Player one, you pick again, please. Brass is an alloy of copper and this. The more this, the less malleable. Let's hear it, player one. That's correct. You again, player one. Answer. The other daily double. And you're in the lead now. How much are you going to wager, player one? Okay, here is the clue. To withstand the pressure over 14,000 feet down, the submersible Alvin's hull is this metal, about 2 inches thick. That's correct. Player one, choose again. On January 7th, 1927, transatlantic phone service began as the president of AT&T called this world capital. Here's the correct response. London. Player one, back to you for our next selection. Chicago gangster Dion O'Banion, who started the practice of lavish arrangements at mob funerals, had this civilian trade. The correct response is florist. Please pick again, player one. Competition from the new Chevrolet spurred Henry Ford to introduce this new model in 1927. Player one? No. Here's the response we were looking for. The Model A. We return to you, player one. Fresh out of Columbia University in 1923, he debuted at the age of 20 with the New York Yankees. Yes, player one? That's not it. Here's the correct response. Lou Gehrig. Please pick again, player one. This evangelist made plenty of headlines in the 1920s, like in 1926 when she claimed to have been kidnapped. The correct response is Amy Semple McPherson. Player 1, you pick again, please. This strike-slip fault that runs through California is named for a lake that's in the rift. Let's hear it, Player 1. That's it. Player 1, back to you. We are volunteering the information that Clingman's Dome is the highest point in this state. We're talking about Tennessee. You get to pick again, Player 1. Johann Strauss Jr. conducted the Blue Danube Waltz publicly for the first time at a February 1867 concert in this city. Here's what we wanted. Vienna. You get to pick again, Player 1. Dating from medieval times, Gamla Stan, Old Town, is the cradle of this Scandinavian capital. We're talking about Stockholm. You get to pick again, Player 1. Chisago is a county in this state, as is Hennepin. Yes, Player 1? No. Here's the response we were looking for. Minnesota. Player 1, you pick again, please. A park was originally an enclosed place. This related word still means an enclosure for racehorses. Player 1? No, sorry. We're talking about a paddock. You get to pick again, Player 1. Culprit, meaning the guilty party, evolved from this adjective meaning guilty. Here's what we were looking for. Culpable. Select again. Fabricate is related to this verb that can mean to write something fraudulent, like a signature. Let's hear it, Player 1. That's it. Player 1, back to you for our next selection. As score can mean to cut, it makes sense that it's from the same root as this word for big scissors. Here's the response we were looking for. Shears. Please pick again, Player 1. To do this to something is to make it holy, a word from the same root. Let's hear it, Player 1. No, that's not right. Here's what we wanted. To hallow. Player 1, back to you. Jaws and Jonathan Livingston Seagull. Here's the correct response. The 1970s. Player 1, pick again. Red Storm Rising and The Prince of Tides. We're talking about the 1980s. Player 1, choose again. The Agony and the Ecstasy, and You Only Live Twice. Here's the correct response. The 1960s. Player 1, you pick again, please. Forever Amber and The Naked and the Dead. Here's the response we were looking for. The 1940s. And now the $2,000 clue. Aerosmith and The Age of Innocence. Here's what we wanted. The 1920s. Good game. You will participate in Final Jeopardy right after this. Time to get ready for Final Jeopardy. And today the category is this. Poetry. What are you going to wager? Our Final Jeopardy clue today is, in a poem about this battle, Robert Browning wrote, "To Acropolis run Pheidippides, one race more." What did you say? And that will lose you. Here's what we were looking for. Marathon. Yeah! You've come out ahead as our champion, Player 1. Thanks for playing, everybody. See you next time.